Hi and welcome to XCAR's Roundup of the Year, where today we're talking about August, which was an absolute monster month for XCAR. We did the Peugeot 208 GTI, we did an absolute epic history of the BMW Roadsters, we did an even more epic history of all the 4 GT cars, we looked at the TS650 by TMG, we drove the Cayman S and the BMW 4 Series.
So quite a quiet summer really for us.
I mean, August is the best month to shoot in, but that is just freaking ridiculous.
That is overkill.
Insane.
Peugeot 208 GTI.
It was an interesting take on the whole GTI thing. It was quick, but it was also very luxurious. It wasn't uber hardcore, but it was very comfy and very lovely. I really like it. Lots of other people really like it because it isn't the whole, oh, well, it has to be a sports car, so it has to ride really badly and it has to go just a little bit ragged edgy. No, it was comfy and it was quick. Yeah, it was just a good car.
It was a really attractive little car, especially the interior. I thought it was nice little sporty
The interior
touches.
was cracking, actually.
I love
really
the
like
kind
interior.
of the red theme throughout and
the gradients on the door handles. Admittedly, some people may think, oh, it's a bit Microsoft Word art, but it worked for the car.
if you want a sporty car, I think that's a nice little hot hatch touch. You don't want it to look exactly the same as the interior of a 208, and I think it did pretty well with that. Yeah.
Well, moving on, we had 2 enormously epic shoots back to back at Castle Combe. We started with a history of the BMW Roadsters covering the 327, 328, 507, Z1, Z8 and the brand new Z4.
Now, this started off as your idea having gone on a BMW Z4 launch earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But as a consequence, because the Roadsters, the cars we were dealing with, were quite old, we had to book 2 days at the track. So, also using our contacts at Ford, we also thought, well, why not the other day we do all the Ford GT cars? So the first day we did the Roadsters because there was no rain promised, and oh my God, what a day. 6 cars.
Yeah.
We had at least £2.5 million worth of car there, quite easily.
Well, we had the BMW 507, which on its own is worth about
700,000?
about $1 million. Yeah, easily on its own. It's so rare though; they very rarely come up for sale. I mean, and that was just the middle one, and that was not even the oldest by 20 or 30 years. We had the 328 and the 327 from the 1930s, a pre-war BMW. It's exceptionally rare in mint condition. I mean, I could not believe the 328, which is a proper racing car, which should have been raced to within an inch of its life, is still such a joy to drive. Beautiful cars, by far the oldest cars I've ever driven. And such an honor to get behind the wheel, but such an interesting story to tell of BMW, how it went from being a plane engineer to buying its way into the car industry to then getting shut down for the Second World War and to really trying again afterwards. It's really the Roadster story, especially from BMW's inception to like the late 50s, is such an interesting story which you can tell perfectly through its Roadsters. It was a great story to tell. It was an honor to drive those cars and just to have them all on the same day. I mean, those 3 cars there looked absolutely stunning. You just don't get looks like that anymore.
But what about the GT cars? I
Oh,
mean,
the Ford
wow, that
GT
was a
cars.
great day.
We go from 6 legendary BMW Roadsters to, well, 3 awesome Ford GT cars. The GT40, we had the Mark III. They made, what, 7 of those? That was worth £3.5 million. Then the GT70, the failed rally car, they only made 6 of those, and then the new Ford GT. If you've seen the film, and if you don't, it will be below. I was blown away by the GT40. The GT70, I won't lie, I really hated that thing. It was rubbish. I'm glad they didn't make it. It was awful.
It was a challenge to drive.
I loved the GT70. I don't know I know you two weren't big fans of it, but it was very cool. Once you got to know that car and you got it on song, I mean, at first I didn't know
It was
whether...
like steering a pig,
At
Nicholas.
first I didn't know whether the rev limiter was screaming at me to stop or begging me to give more, but once you'd got it, once you'd been tuned into that car, once you got to know it, and that's what I like about those kind of cars. You need to get to know it to understand its limits and what it can do. And you know, a GT70 can beat a GT40 in a drag race.
It can, but
Only if the GT40's been driven by me.
Yeah, only if the GT40 is being driven by a man with fists of mutton.
In my defense, I'm not very good. No, it was. I short shifted out first, and
That was a mistake.
It was a total mistake.
You could not stall the GT70 without having it restarted by a battery, and as it had a racing clutch, that made it a little tricky.
Yeah.
I had to push it down the home straight of Castle Combe. Literally, from the last corner, I had to push it all the way up to where the crew was. Luckily, it still had some momentum left, so I could jump out and keep that momentum going. But still, it felt unreal. Seeing those cars next to each other was like a dream.
We had all the real GT cars together for one day in a video, which I think is pretty impressive, and it'd be great if you could check it out and let us know what you think.
Yeah, please do, because highlight of my life that day.
It's right up there. From not travelling at high speed to genuinely travelling at high speed, you and I flew out to Germany to drive the TS650, which is a modified Lexus, modified by TMG, the company that has been providing Toyota with its motorsport since the 70s, and they've done everything from their rally teams to their Formula One teams, but of late have come on hard times. They're not really doing much. So this is an experiment to see, can TMG be the tuning division of Toyota in the same way that AMG is for Mercedes or that M is for BMW, and this is their concept car. The TS650, 654, 650 PS, slightly less in horsepower. They have this one car and they invite us out to Germany to drive it. My God, this does not drive how you expect a Lexus to drive in the slightest. You mean you expect luxury performance from a Lexus. You expect it to be faster than a normal sedan. You expect a little bit of go. Taking out of equation the LFA, obviously. This car is insane. If this is any indication what TMG can do for Toyota as a brand, what it can do for Lexus, I'm all for it. If they can make this car to this, at a reasonable price to do this kind of performance, it will blow everyone away. The brakes on it are directly out of the LFA, so it stops like nothing you've ever driven before. And it's a 2-ton car, they haven't stripped back on the comfort element, so it still has all the mod cons that you'd expect from a car of that size. But the engineering that's gone into making this car is just purely motorsport driven. I mean, TMG are German. Lexus obviously is Japanese, but the TMG group are completely based out of Germany, and they know what they're doing. They have a very small, devoted team who know how to turn a car into a faster car, and that's exactly what they've done here. Stripped it out completely, rebuilt it, and they've made an absolute beast. Moving on, we've talked about the old Cayman, but we got to drive the new Cayman.
The Cayman S, the brand spanking new one, based on the same platform as the current Porsche Boxster. With an engine that's slightly more powerful and with slightly more everything, and it is, it's really good. I think it's better than the 911 Carrera that we had in, the orange one. I think it's better than the Boxster S. It is bang in the middle. As sports cars go, you can't go far wrong. There's not much more I really can say about it because it's just brilliant. It's really good fun, looks good, not as good as the old one, just saying. But if
on the Porsche range, Boxster Cayman 911, is it the most bang for your buck?
Yes.
There you
the
go.
end.
The end. So from there to the BMW 4 Series, the replacement for the 3 Series Coupe.
The abomination, as people call it, because they're cutting the 3 Series convertible and coupe, and the 4 Series will do that job, like the style job, just as the Audi A5 does for the Audi A4. As a car, it's chuffing brilliant. We had the 435i. It's starting to look at. The 3.5 is a cracking motor.
Anyway, for now, that's the roundup of August. Hopefully you'll join us again tomorrow for our roundup of September.